Welcome to our newest episode of the Climate Risk Stresstest series. Today I have with me Stefanie.g.gadow, our resident climate risk expert, and we're going to talk about the procedures of the climate risk stress test. So, Stefanie, can you tell me how the stress test will be structured?
Yes, sure. The stress test comprises a qualitative questionnaire in Module 1, then in Module 2, quantitative climate metrics, and last but not least, the bottom-up stress test in Module 3. And let's go to the Module 1. So here we have a detailed assessment with 78 questions. Yeah. And these 78 questions are classified in different 11 areas, like governance or scenarios or data, of course. And here it is really important that every stakeholder and relevant stakeholders are on board, and they have to incorporate it in this process of answering this Module 1. Yeah? And of course, the Module 1, the questionnaire, should be consistent to other ECB gap analysis, for example. Then let's go to Module 2. Module 2 covers two different metrics. Yeah? The first metrics has in scope gross interest, fee or commission income from greenhouse gas intensive non-financial corporations in the EU or non-EU. And this have to be broken down in NACE sectors. ECB will provide or have already published and provide on the 18th of October this NACE codes in their templates. The second metric is the finite scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions of the largest 15 non-SME and non-financial exposures. So here it is quite a challenge to deviate scope 3 emissions because they are not really available on the market so far. And as I already said, the third module covers the bottom-up stress test. Yeah. And here is really relevant that ECB covers the transitional and the physical risk for long-term and the short-term horizon. So here credit risk and market risk are in scope in the quantification area, and reputational and operational risk are in scope of a qualitative questionnaires with 47 questions. And what is really interesting, the dynamic balance sheet approach should be covered in the bottom-up stress test as well, yeah, for the long-term horizon up to 2050.
Oh, well, that sounds like a lot of data and like a pretty intense exercise. What does ECB intend to do with the results?
Yeah, that's quite easy because, as I said, ECB has already published a letter and the templates and the methodology on the 18th of October. Yeah, and they wrote that the results will be incorporated in the SREP process, the supervisory review and evaluation process in 2022.
Oh, well, that was easy. So you've talked a little bit about challenges already. From your perspective, what are the biggest challenges of the ECB climate stress test?
Of course, one of the biggest challenges is data collection, yeah, especially for metric 2 in module 2, because here is required to use scope 3 data. And as I already said, this is not really available in the market, so you or the banks have to make assumptions and to develop proxies, etc. And this should be really detailed, described in the explanatory notes. Yeah. And the next really huge challenge is the dynamic balance sheet. Yeah, because here banks have to be consistent with the sustainability strategy up to 2050, and this 30 years horizon is really quite a hard challenge.
Thank you. That concludes today's episode. And if you have any questions in the meantime, contact us at PwC.
Thank you and goodbye.